of legislation, not just on mainstreaming mental health issues, but also on some of the laws governing punishment for such offences?
No, I think legislation is not, because that law, actually that bill at the end of the day became law, it's now a law, but I think what is happening is there's that gap, you know, like when I look just quickly at the way we are structured as a society, there are a number of areas you can go and still get counseling. Most of the schools now have mainstreamed counseling as part of the subject. If you go to most schools, secondary schools, you hear there is a head of counseling department, which means it's something they are doing to the students. When you go to a church, you realize that there are some pastors who are better to be trained to do counseling, meaning out of the congregation, in case there's need for such a support, then you can get it. I remember when I was in the Committee on National Security, one of the things we pushed hard was to have also in the budget of the police, to have a budget which would purely get experts who can counsel even the police. So you find we are trying our best to do it, but I think we are not doing it good enough. What we are doing is not good enough in terms of, are we reaching everybody? I think there are gaps, because some of the things happening, you really realize this one, it might not be said it's a mental issue, but the way it's been conducted, you can see there's a mental issue here. And basically, that's I think now what we need to ask ourselves is, what is triggering this huge upsurge in terms of mental issues? Because it never used to be like that. Actually, in the old days, you find in a whole family, you could only get one person who seems to have mental issues. The rest of the family. But these days, you find even in a family of about 20, if you get 20 people, you find, I remember one day we were doing some research on mental, I'd been called to talk about it, and I was checking, and it was very surprising because the statistics were saying out of every 10 people, you find out of that 10, 4 of them have mental issues, but they don't know. Wow. So it's like when someone analyzes the way you conduct yourself, actually you see, it's a confirmation that you have mental, but you don't know. So even as you walk around here, even in this room we are in, Fred, you might find out of the 5 of us here, some 1 or 2 we might be having it, but we don't know. So we assume we are normal, but with the time then that pressure builds up, and then you see what you see on the front page of the Daily Nation. All right.
Yes, it is a big headline there on the front page of the Daily Nation. They say, killed in 21 days. In the first 3 weeks of this year alone, this paper has established that at least 15 women have been murdered in a new spiraling wave of brutal attacks, sometimes perpetrated by jilted lovers and spouses. Teenage girls have not been spared either, while a Kenyan banker working in London is also a victim. Who will act on these macabre killings? The story has been covered on pages 4 and 5 of The Nation, but they talk about a 34-member task force that has been formed to combat the rising cases across the country. How effective that task force will be, we'll have to wait and see. All right. So let's now focus on the other headline that's there on the front page of the Daily Nation. It talks about Muturi's cabinet